Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and today we're going to talk about the full moon happening in the sign of Capricorn on 3rd July 2023. So let's get started. A full moon is when the sun and the moon are in opposition like this, and that's a full moon. Full moons are generally points of completions, of endings, culminations. Things come to a close on a full moon. Things are released on a full moon. Generally, a full moon is an emotionally charged point because the sun, our soul, is in opposition, 180-degree angle with moon, our emotions. So it can feel emotionally charged up, generally speaking. This full moon is in the sign of Capricorn at about 11 degrees. Capricorn is a Saturn-ruled sign. It is about hard work, it's about discipline, it's about structure, it's about planning for the long run, it's about persistence, it's about commitments and decisions, right? So these are the broad themes associated with this full moon. There can be this need to persist, right? Keep on doing something persistently and diligently. There can be this need to plan for the future, for the long run. There can be this need to take a decision or commit to something. If you know your charts, look for 11 degrees of Capricorn. That particular area is where this energy is for you, that particular house. So that's the basic gist of the full moon. Now let's talk about the aspects that are going on. So the first aspect that I want to speak about is the fact that Mercury is right there with the sun, right? Which means it is opposing the moon, but it is conjunct the sun. Now this can mean there can be this epiphany, this insight that can come through. Mercury is the planet of communication, and it can even bring insights when it's right next to the sun like this. So there might be some new information, there might be some insight that comes through on this full moon. The second aspect this moon is making is a trine to Jupiter. Positive aspect with a positive planet. Jupiter here is the planet of gifts, blessings, and lessons. So there is a positive element to this full moon, right? With Jupiter trine the moon. And this can manifest as maybe some blessing coming through, a silver lining coming through, or it can even mean the need to learn lessons. So there is Jupiter here, and generally speaking, it is a benefic energy, which means it brings good things, but it is also the teacher, which means it can also bring lessons. So to sum it up so far, there's this need to structure things, plan things, maybe commit to things. This can happen maybe after some information is received or some insight comes through, but there is a silver lining, or there is a need to learn a certain lesson. So these are the basic aspects that are going on. A few more things I do want to speak about. The first is that we have Mars and Venus here, Mars, Venus, right? Few days ago, both Mars and Venus squared Uranus. Now that's over, but I just want to talk about it real quick because it's important. So last week we had Uranus square Mars. This could have initiated certain changes, right? Changes to how we do things, changes to how we take action, changes in general. And few days after that, Uranus did square Venus. Venus did square Uranus, and right now also you can see Venus is at 22, Uranus is at 21, right? It's still close, but it's kind of done with. And this could have brought certain changes or sudden ideas or epiphanies connected to relationships and finances. So I just wanted to touch upon that because the build up to this moon could have felt a little challenging, to be honest. It could have felt like things are happening quite fast. Things are moving quite fast. Uranus is fast, right? Saturn here can slow things down, but Uranus here can speed things up. So things moving quite fast, and things may be a little sudden in nature. So we've built up to this moon with that energy. I just wanted to mention that. The next thing I want to mention is that a few days before this moon, on July 3rd, on June 30th, we have Neptune here retrograde. Right now on July 3rd, it is retrograde. It went retrograde on June 30th. And right now, if you look at the chart, we have Pluto retrograde, Saturn. Now we have Neptune there with them. And retrogrades usually mean review, they mean reflection, they mean going back to something you've already worked on. That's what they mean. So now with three big energies retrograde, a lot of review can be happening, a lot of past themes can be coming back up, especially with Pluto at the 29-degree spot of Capricorn. Because if you recall, Pluto here moved into the sign of Aquarius in March. But now if you look, it's at 29 degrees of Capricorn. It's moved back into Capricorn. And this can also mean old themes, reflection on old themes, old cycles coming up again. So with these planets retrograde, look out for going back to old things, reflecting on things that have already happened. Also figuring out how some things that's happened in the past, maybe a decision, maybe a project, maybe something else, can be made better. So those are the big themes of retrogrades. Retrogrades can also feel like a time period that's a little slow as compared to when the planets are direct. Actually quite slow as compared to when the planets are direct. So just be mindful of that in the course of the past month or so, we've had these planets retrograde, so the pace of things might be slowing down. Although I did say the build up to this moon could have felt like quite sudden, quite different, quite unexpected. Right, so just keep that in mind as well. Now, the next thing I want to mention is that between this moon and the next moon, we will have Mars enter the sign of Virgo. Right now, it's in Leo. Soon on July 10th, it will enter the sign of Virgo. Mars is how we do things. It's how we take action. It's those things. So in Leo, it's all about doing things you love, doing things from the heart, doing things in a big way. With Virgo, what might happen is that how we do things, how we take action might need to be more planned, more methodical, more structured, right? More with a focus on the little details, not the big ideas. So that's a change that we might feel when Mars enters the sign of Virgo on July 10th. The next thing I want to talk about is extremely important, and that's the fact that we have been building up to this, and I have been speaking about this in almost every video. Pluto here is in a tight square with the nodes. This has been building up for months now. That is the North Node Rahu, and this is the South Node Ketu, and Pluto here is making a 90-degree angle with both of them. This aspect, this 90-degree angle will become exact July, end of July. So that say 20th July onwards to about end of July, that's the week where we'll feel this energy very intensely. But these are slow moving energies, so we have been building up to this. We've been building up to this for months. And what is this? This is a big change. This is a big transformation. This is a big ending or a beginning that can come up. Pluto here rules change, transformation, bringing things to the surface, finding something that's hidden and unknown, right? So that's the energy. And in a square to the nodes, all these big themes are just building up. Big changes, big transformations, big endings, big things coming to the surface. And to be honest, in a square, it can feel challenging because a square is a point, is an angle which says, okay, you need to change, you need to do something different. It's time for change. And often we change when we feel a certain stress, a certain pressure, a certain sort of okay, this is not working, I can't continue like this, something needs to change. So this is pressure building up, pressure to change, transform, and begin, and it is karmic. It's karmic because the nodes are involved. The nodes of the moon, Ketu and Rahu, north node and south node, very karmic points. So the change, the transformation that we are building up to might feel like destiny at play. It might feel like things are just happening, it's not really so planned, right? So it can have that feeling of destiny is taking over. So we are at the beginning of July right now, so it's just going to build up. So pay attention to this, pay attention to this energy, because that week is a very, very important week, because that week Venus here will also go retrograde. And if you recall, in my last video I had said that pay attention to your relationships, pay attention to your finances, pay attention to how you're feeling about yourself, because Venus is in its area that it's going to retrograde over. And what that means is that Venus is moving forward, it will stop, then it will move back, and then it will move forward again. So these degrees we will cover 3 times. So right now we are moving forward, then we will move back for review, and then we will move forward, finalizing everything we worked on and reviewed when it goes the 3rd time. And this process will continue till September. But Venus will go retrograde, I believe, July 22nd to 23rd. And that's the same week when Pluto square the nodes will be exact, right? And when Venus goes retrograde, things associated with relationships and finances come under the scanner, need to be reviewed. It can also feel like things connected to the finances and relationships are a bit slow. Also, it also means that not the best time to start something absolutely new when it comes to a relationship or financial matters. So that week, end of July, we are building up to it, and we have 2 big events: Pluto square the nodes, Venus retrograde within a week. Also, we do have the nodal shift. The nodal shift is right before the Pluto square the nodes and Venus retrograde. The nodes shift on July 17th, I believe, right? So let me show you. Right now we have the north node and south node in Taurus and Scorpio, right? And if you look closely, it's at 1 Scorpio and 1 Taurus, and the nodes move backwards. So on July 17th, Rahu here, the north node, will enter the sign of Aries. It will hit 29 Aries, right? And Ketu, the south node, will enter the sign of Libra. So now the north node is going to be in Aries and the south node is going to be in Libra, which means themes are changing in a big way. Since Jan 2022, the nodes have been in Taurus and Scorpio, right? Themes associated with finance, currencies, economies have been very highlighted. Food resources, right? All Taurian themes. Taurus is a financial sign, so is Scorpio. So these are the big themes that have been highlighted. And with Scorpio also, endings, right? Releasing things, changing things, that's also been highlighted. Now themes will shift. What will they shift to? Aries and Libra. Now the first important thing with this axis is this contradiction of individuality versus relationships, right? So in your personal life, this can play out where it's about independence and individuality, or it's about relationships and compromising and meeting somebody halfway. So this is one big theme. Also, Aries is it's a Mars ruled sign. It's about getting things done. It's about taking action. It's about making things happen. So that can also happen, right? A lot of focus on making things happen and getting things done. At the same time, with Libra, there can be a lot of focus on relationships, all relationships, right? That can be a big theme. Going back to Aries, Aries in its positive manifestation is taking action and moving forward and getting things done. But in its not so positive manifestation, Aries is impulsive, Aries is aggressive, Aries is very, very aggressive actually. So we need to be mindful of these themes, because with the North Node in Aries, these themes of being extremely impulsive, these themes of aggression and anger can be highlighted. That's another thing to be mindful of. So what I'm trying to say here in a nutshell is that, say, July 15th onwards, it's already there because Pluto square the nodes has been building up, but say July 15th onwards, we will have themes change in a major way. The nodes are shifting, Pluto is squaring the nodes as they are shifting, and we also have Venus going retrograde, right? So it can feel like changes, and then suddenly with Venus retrograde, more of a slowdown. So it's a very contradictory energy, you can say. There's a lot changing, there's a lot building up, there's a lot that has built up to this moon, but at the same time things are slowing down, right, with the retrogrades. Especially with Venus retrograde, we will really feel that because it's a personal planet. With planets like Pluto and Neptune, we feel it, but we don't feel it that acutely. With Venus, Mercury, Mars, we feel it more acutely. So we are building up to an energy that's karmic, that's destined, that's about change. Themes are shifting in a big way, but at the same time it can feel contradictory to what it is. It can feel like things are slow, things are just not moving. So there is that contradictory vibe, so just keep that in mind as well. And I think I've summed up everything, so I'll just mention where this is happening in Vedic astrology. And in Vedic astrology, I like to look at the nakshatras more than the signs. Nakshatras or lunar mansions are smaller divisions of a sign with their own ruler, with their own meaning, with their own interpretation. Now this one in Vedic astrology is in the sign of Sagittarius, but it falls in the nakshatra of Purva Ashada. This nakshatra is the invincible one. It's the undefeated one, a lot like Capricorn, right? When a Capricorn wants to do something, they will put all their energy, effort, dedication towards achieving that goal. So very similar in that sense of, working in a way, being persistent in a way, being dedicated in a way that you become invincible. So that's where it's happening in Vedic, and I will put out the next moon video around July 17th, because that's when we have the new moon in Cancer, and then we will talk about all these things once again, because around the time of the new moon we will have all these big changes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do subscribe to this channel, do like this video, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.